Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're doing a little bit of a different style of video. I want to react to this video here by Dr. Mike versus Anti-Vaxxers by Jubilee. I don't know what to expect, but it should be an interesting conversation. So let's get into it right now and start reacting. So the video is by Jubilee, Dr. Mike versus 20 Anti-Vaxxers. So let's see how it is. I'll give my thoughts, comments, but let's see how it goes.
And do you know who the number one hypocrites are? Healthcare providers.
The reality is, if we don't get vaccinated with Jesus, we will face God on Judgment Day.
My first claim is that anti-vaccine lies cost lives.
Without even hearing anyone commenting, I would have to say that I agree with this. But let's see what others are going to see. Because we don't know, We don't know.
Okay, never mind.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Doing fantastic. Excited to talk about health.
I just had a baby, 7 months old. And, my baby, I was like, no, I'm not getting any vaccines. The doctors came in, they made me feel like a very...
No, that's a bit strange, Like, for off the bat, guys, she's saying she just had a baby and she's not getting any vaccines. Not a single one. That seems a bit strange in my opinion. Like, come on, man. I think that's too much of a paranoia right there. But let's see, let's see. We never know. Well, let's hear what she has to say, and let's see what Dr. Mike has to say as well.
very bad mother for not doing that, right? I was very pressured. And then I had a family friend who had a baby at the same time, was a few months in, gave vaccines to the baby, and the baby had seizures and has had seizures since. And I've also had a friend who I went on a mission trip with, and this pastor was totally healthy, two young girls, and this pastor literally got a heart attack out of nowhere, and the only thing was...
I don't know. Guys, I'm not feeling this one here. Of course, I understand what she's trying to say. I see her concern, yes, but she has to realize, like, she just gave one example there. Suppose the baby has some other condition. It had to be the baby probably has some other condition. Of course, I'm not the one to say the vaccine didn't cause something. I can't say that. But for just one single case to already say, okay, vaccines cause problems, vaccines cause the death of this child or seizures of this child, I think it's a bit too much to be saying, because that's just one case. But anyway, let's continue and let's see what Dr. Mike has to say about it.
He took the vaccine, and there's many cases like that.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the birth of a 7-month-old. The fact that anyone made you feel bad in the healthcare system, I feel like is a failure on us in the healthcare system, so I'm sorry that happened to you. In healthcare, it's very difficult to predict the future because there are so many unknowns and there's so many variables in healthcare. There are things that are outside of our control, and we try to do the best with the limited amounts that we can control. Okay. So when we see two things happen simultaneously in healthcare, sometimes we think they have caused one another. But unless we see a pattern of that happening over and over again on a large scale...
Right.
He's explaining exactly what I'm saying. Like, you cannot just take a simple case, one little case, or not little, but just one case like that, and already say, okay, vaccines cause seizures to children. It has to have been occurring for multiple people, not just one person. And then you can say, okay, there might be something to this, so maybe we should do some tests and look into this and see what's up.
It's more likely that this is just a coincidence of things happening at the same time. For example, I have a friend of mine who's a physician who vaccinates children very regularly. And they were about to give a child a vaccine, and before giving the vaccine, the child had a seizure. They went on and had more seizures throughout their life and ended up actually dying at a very young age because of a seizure disorder. But the vaccine was never given. Had that happened 2 minutes later, what do you think would have been in the mother's mind and in the father's mind in that situation, other than, I definitely think that vaccine caused that problem?
Exactly. Like, these things happen, Unfortunately, it's really, really sad, but these things happen, and you can't really predict it like that. So to say vaccines cause seizures to children is not really a concrete thing you can say unless there is a repeated or there are repeated cases.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyway, at least she has some point there. Like, at least I have to give her props because she had a point there, and who knows, maybe what she's saying there might be true. You're
Hi, Dr.
fast,
Mike.
man. These people are really, really fast, man.
Oh, smooth. Hello.
He's got that wrist flowing. I'm actually a fan of your channel. I've been watching for a while.
Thank you.
I am a pediatric hematology oncology nurse.
Wow, okay.
I think a lot of mistrust in my eyes were opened during the whole COVID pandemic.
Why?
Institutions
Off the bat there, I can see where she's coming from. COVID or the 2020 story there with the pandemic, that has a lot of news from a bunch of places. Some people were seeing a bunch of false things, and some people were seeing a bunch of true things. But it's difficult to know exactly what was false and what was true. But I am 100% sure that when we had the pandemic, there were a lot of false misinformation on both sides, from vaxxers and anti-vaxxers as well. So that's 100% fact.
that were there. I used to be in the military, so when I was in the military, I signed my bodily autonomy away. Seeing, how Dr. Fauci, who was just pardoned, and that's a whole other discussion, seeing how we were sold a bill of goods that we, the American tax dollars, paid for, while these pharmaceutical companies reaped millions and millions of profits on. And I think that caused the goalpost, the vaccine, this mRNA vaccine, it's going to prevent the transmission of COVID, it's going to prevent you from getting it, and others, if you don't get this vaccine, you hate your grandmother, you're going to kill all these people, and you got to do your duty and get it.
Yeah, she had a point there. During the pandemic, I heard a lot of people were saying the vaccine is the most important thing for stopping the spread of this virus here. So what she's saying there is actually very true, because I knew a lot of people who didn't take the vaccine and they were completely normal, completely healthy. And I knew a lot of people who took the vaccine and still end up getting COVID, still end up going through problems. So it's tough to say, or not tough to say, it's really not the best how they were trying to scare everyone into thinking the vaccine is literally the only thing that's going to save humanity. So let's see what Dr. Mike has to say about it.
Well, you know what? My grandmother got it, and she died. I saw her take her last breath.
I'm sorry.
And it's a very profound thing to see someone that you love take their last breath and go on to whatever happens after.
Of course.
So when those seats, and it turns out the 6 feet of social distancing was not based on anything, how can you not expect people to question these higher institutions that are deemed to look out for the well-being of people, and they don't?
No, her points are valid. You have to understand where she's coming from. She's saying there that her grandmother took the vaccine, but you still end up dying. And of course, you can't fully blame the vaccine, because who knows the condition of her grandmother. Maybe if she didn't get the vaccine, it would have been worse. But to say that the vaccine is literally the cure, or to say the vaccine is going to prevent you from getting COVID 100%, there's a high chance you can still get the virus. There's a high chance you can still go through a bunch of problems, even if you got the vaccine and you get the virus. So it was a bit strange that they were trying to say that the vaccine is literally the one cure or the one thing you need, and you don't have to worry once you take the vaccine. That part there was a bit strange in my opinion.
It's a great question.
So just like with Black people who don't trust the government because based on the Tuskegee experiment in 1932, actually 40 years after that, the New York Times, they actually infected them with syphilis, and they let them infect their families, their friends. Just like if someone wants to refuse a treatment, we give them an AMA form against medical advice. I think it's all up to people's choice and their autonomy.
There was a few topics that you touched that I think are really worth discussing. First, bodily autonomy. I believe that, and that is the sole principle by which we practice medicine. Vaccines fall in a unique category because your decision on vaccinating your child and then sending them to school can impact other children in that school. So much like drinking and driving as an example, Your choice to do that puts your life at risk, but it also puts others at risk. So we deem that as dangerous for the general public.
And the guy is shaking his head saying like, what are you talking, Dr. Mike? You make no sense. No, but he has a point he's making there that I agree with. Like doing certain things, you have to look at what impact it's going to have on others. You can't look at what impact it has on you, yourself only. You have to look at the impact it would have on others as well, because you have to consider other people as well, other people around you, your friends, your family, because they are important as well.
This is why vaccines, it becomes a little more complicated when we talk about bodily autonomy. When it comes to our government, our mandates, pharmaceutical companies, there's absolutely reasons for distrust. I love that everyone in this room is a skeptic, and I encourage skepticism. I don't think anyone should just go into a doctor's office and say yes, 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 yes. In fact,
100%.
I love when my patients question me. I empower them to ask.
You have to question everything, trust me. Of course, yeah, you have to trust your doctor as well, but still question some things as well.
Ask questions. Doctors sometimes get this attitude where they're like, oh, you Googled before coming here? Google search doesn't replace my degree. No.
Yeah, there are some doctors, the ego is way too high. They don't want you to Google anything at all. They literally want you to hear everything from their mouth. But doctors aren't perfect. They're not going to be experienced in every single thing and every single topic all the time. Of course, you can't trust Google, because if you listen to Google, sometimes you might think you have a brain tumor, but you just have simple, like maybe like dietary problems that you have to fix, or maybe you gotta look at how you're sleeping, how you're eating, and so forth, which can be the reason for your headaches. So you can't really trust Google 100%, because they can make you a bit too skeptical, and they can tell you a bunch of crazy things. But of course, you have the right to check up for your own diseases, check up for your own conditions and everything.
It's not how we're supposed to be. Yeah. What I get excited about is if you Googled and you have questions, now I know exactly the route I need to take to help you make a decision that's right for you and your family.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Nice meeting you.
How you doing?
He was waiting for a while. I'm pretty sure he was waiting for a while anyway.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yes, Root Scott. Good to meet you as well.
Love the jacket.
Thank you so much. So I really want to talk to you about this claim based on all of the other things that are causing disease, the chronic conditions that are in this country, all of the metabolic issues, and this is stemming from colonization. Putting smallpox blankets on indigenous cultures, sterilizing people in Puerto Rico, Honduras, all of these different things that have happened. And if you look at Africa, oh, by the way, Bill Gates did say something interesting. The next war will be fought with biological warfare.
Well, it is a possibility, but we can't comment on that.
I think that was raising eyebrows, especially when you look at the Kissinger report, right? For those of you who don't know about the Kissinger report, it's all about pretty much reducing the population of the planet. I don't know how you can make this claim and really defend vaccines in the nature and the world that we're living in, where we are actually going away from nature. And the further we get away from nature, the more diseases we will see. So, you know, I'm very passionate about this, and I want to be able to have like a real...
No, he brought up a very good point there. The further we get away from nature, the more problems we're going to have. So what he's trying to say basically is that because of all the technology and all the processed stuff and everything, the food, the TV we watch, our lifestyles and so, we're getting sicker. We're getting sicker because of our lifestyles. And what he's saying is true, because people who live in more natural environments, more organic food, exercise a lot and so, they are usually healthier than the people who just use a bunch of technology, eat fast food and everything. So he has a point what he's saying there, but for him to discredit vaccines now or to link vaccines to this, you can't really link vaccines to this because there's not really any big correlation. Vaccines have still helped billions of people over the years.
Discussion with you because yes, you're a medical doctor, but this is also a system that J.D. Rockefeller started, getting rid of all types of indigenous practices, and this land is stolen land. So when we're not even honoring the source, when we're not honoring the land, the ancestors, ancestral intelligence, the real AI, when we're not even honoring these things and we're just supposed to trust science. No, I trust my scientists. I trust Dr. Sebi, I trust Dr. Arasatham, I trust Dr. Yaki. because this system is not for us. It's not built for people like me. It's not built for any of us, because even the opioid crisis, we saw a lot of Caucasians suffering from that. So how can you sit here and say that this vaccine is killing people when this system is currently killing people?
No, he's mixing up. He's mixing up the entire question. Of course, I see his point. He's trying to say there, but Dr. Mike didn't say vaccines kill people. He's saying misinformation of vaccines cause lives, and that's true because there are vaccines that are proven, like 100% proven, to prevent illnesses. Things like measles, for example, tuberculosis vaccines, vaccines for influenza. A bunch of vaccines have been proven to either reduce the spread or completely eradicate certain conditions and certain diseases. So for him to be saying that there, I think he's more on a different topic, which I understand where he's coming from, and he has a lot of sense. He makes a lot of sense there. But to save the vaccine problem, like correlating his problem to the vaccine problem, it's a bit two different things.
We even have to have an administration that comes in now and says, "Ooh, we got to start looking at all of these different toxins in the food, in the medicine, in the soil."
That is facts, yeah, that is facts. He's speaking pure facts right now.
I don't think it's fair for us to take this vaccine when we're already being forced to take polluted food.
Yeah, absolutely. I respect that. I came to the United States as an immigrant living on welfare, so I got put into this same system that you're describing. It's a shitty system. The world is changing in ways that make our lives more unhealthy. We're eating more processed food, we're exposed to more chemicals. When someone wears a specific pretty strap on their Apple Watch, there's chemicals in there, there's forever chemicals in there. So for every amazing thing that we have in society, there's been drawbacks. The good part about our society is that we're constantly monitoring those drawbacks and are trying to create solutions for our own problems. So when I think about our current healthcare system, where I think it needs to do better is it needs to focus more on prevention rather than cures. Agree?
100%, guys. Prevention is literally better than treatment. 100%. You go anywhere, that's the number one priority. Prevent any form of sickness or diseases. That's why you have to make sure you do the main three things: diet, exercise, sleep. The main three things.
1,000%, yes, sir.
Do you know how we can do that?
Yeah, so far
Not through
he's
the
doing pretty well.
vaccines, but one way we could do that is connecting more to nature. One way we
No, Dr. Mike is smart, dude. Yeah, Dr. Mike caught in there big time. Vaccines definitely prevent a lot of diseases and the spread of diseases.
One way we could do that is making sure that we're not poisoning the food. One way we could do that is treating each other better with more respect and actually getting rid of these systems that are putting us against us, this divide and conquer.
No, he is speaking facts there too. Like, you have to agree.
The media manipulation and all of this fear tactics that was pushed during this vaccine COVID mumbo jumbo. Yeah. This was totally.
Do you think we should do all of it?
Okay, sorry, pause.
Agree. Do everything. What are you saying there? 100% do that, and also take the vaccines.
My next claim is that vaccine-acquired immunity is better than natural immunity.
Vaccine immunity is better than natural immunity. In some cases, that's true, but I think in other cases, you can't really fully say that because I don't think there have been enough tests to prove such things. For example, the previous pandemic we had with that vaccine there didn't really, I don't know, but I didn't really see that much effect when it comes to preventing the illness, preventing the pandemic condition. So I can't really say for sure. I can't really 100% agree with the statement, but I think the statement he made there is more or less correct in most cases.
Hello.
Hello, Dr. Mike.
Pleasure.
Pleasure. I want to say first that I'm a mother of 6 children. My oldest 2 children do have vaccines. My third child, he got a vaccine that the doctor said were safe that caused him brain issues for the rest of his life, and he has arrested hydrocephalus.
Yeah, you can't really say what she's saying there is 100% facts because we don't know exactly if it was another correlation and causation situation. Like, you can't really say because of one simple solution. I don't know the test that she did or what are the findings from the test or whatever. So I can't really say if she's saying there what is true, if it's true or not. But I am gonna say that what she's saying there, you can't really take it 100% because it could be like a correlation and causation situation where it's just a coincidence.
I want to continue to say my youngest 3 children have no vaccines at all. They're perfectly fine. They're advanced. My son has permanent brain injury. So they say vaccine immunity is better, but as a child, when I got vaccines, I ended up with spinal meningitis. I had chicken pox twice. I almost died. But my 3 children that don't have any.
He says spinal meningitis, chickenpox twice, and I almost died. She has to talk a bit more, like what is she exactly talking about? Like what did she almost died from? And who knows? Maybe if she didn't take the vaccine, it might have been worse. So I'm not too. I don't like to lean on the side of people who are discrediting older vaccines because the older vaccines have been proven to be working. They have proven to be successful. So I can't really discredit her, but I can't give her the benefit of the doubt because I have to hear more exactly of what is her exact situation, her family history, medical conditions, and everything.
Vaccines are perfectly fine. They've been traveled over 20 states during COVID. They've never got COVID. They've never got sick. Just a healthy diet, keeping them away from toxic foods, making sure their hygiene is good. Did you know that?
No, but that's true, yeah. Like once you do the regular stuff there, 100%, you're gonna be able to live a better life. Like diet, exercise, sleep.
COVID has a patent and natural illnesses can't have patents. Did you know that every illness dated back to polio has a patent? The only thing that doesn't have a patent is the common cold. Did you know that Fauci funded medical schools to try to make the vaccine more, or not the vaccine, make COVID more deadly? Vaccine immunity is not really a thing because they cannot guarantee it makes anybody immune. There's more side effects.
No, she can't say that, man. I'm pretty sure she hasn't done the research. Like, it's been proven that multiple vaccines make us immune. Like multiple vaccines have proven to make humans immune. That has been proven. That's been a fact.
From getting a vaccine than to not get a vaccine. The chances of getting illness not vaccinated versus to getting vaccines is a lot higher than somebody that doesn't eat toxic crap.
No, but what she's saying there, you can't really correlate it, because you can't say a person who takes a vaccine but then lives a trash life is better than a person who didn't take the vaccine and is living an amazing life, focusing on diet, focusing on sleep, focusing on exercise. Like you can't really say that because it's a wrong correlation, it's a wrong, like you can't really compare the two, man. That's a bit disingenuous from her part there.
Practices good hygiene. They're more likely to get illness vaccinated versus not vaccinated. There's studies that show unvaccinated children are more healthier. In Japan,
I want to see what studies, like where are these studies coming from? That unvaccinated children are healthier than vaccinated children. I really want to see the studies, man. Where is the proof, man? Come with proof.
and they don't start their vaccine schedule, I believe, until 2 years old. Autism is almost non-existent, and this is something that needs to be documented. Dated back to polio, everything has a patent except for the common cold. Mad cow disease, Spanish flu, COVID, everything has a patent. So that leads me to believe Big Pharma has been ruining our people for generations since the Great Depression, since like...
No, I agree 100% that some of these pharmaceutical companies, their main goal is to make profits. So that's why they might not have the best interests for the general population. So you have to be able to know, or like take everything you see or you hear about with a grain of salt and do your own studies, do your own research and everything, because you can't trust any and everyone, especially people who are doing things for profit.
He said Rockefeller agreed to fund medical schools and the education system around 1920s. Since then, illnesses have increased and increased and increased and increased and increased, and all we ever needed was to take care of ourselves and have good hygiene.
But she is making a point here, like diet, sleep, exercise, that's the best treatment, literally.
Something I think our healthcare system doesn't do enough is say, I don't know. And I have no idea about Dr. Fauci's patents. I don't know about patents on viruses. I'm a family medicine physician. That means I work in a clinic where people come in with either an acute complaint, something's going on with them, or they're coming in for a preventive physical where we can get ahead of things and make them healthier by preventing illness. In fact, if you think about where pharma's profits are, if pharma had to choose between preventing an illness or to treat an illness for the rest of someone's life, financially speaking, they'd probably want to just treat someone for the rest of their life.
That is true, yeah. They want profit, so you can't disagree with that. These pharmaceutical companies definitely always look at profit. That's one of the main focus. pharmaceutical companies and these like insurance companies as well too, health insurance companies.
Exactly.
But that's not what vaccines are. Vaccines prevent that illness. They prevent it from happening.
Rockefeller's medicine, or are you going off of holistic medicine as well? As a scientific mind, you're supposed to observe everybody's hypothesis, not just.
But she looks like if she's on a high vibrational frequency, really. You can see that she actually does her studies.
Rockefeller's medical schools, and that's why I feel like you've got most of your knowledge from, and maybe you should branch out into holistic medicine, because vaccines.
Now, I think she's trying to, like, of course, you can understand the heat of the moment because of her life experience and everything, but she's trying to send me take a jab at Dr. Mike, which he doesn't deserve. So, of course, I can understand her feelings here, but she shouldn't be taking a jab on Dr. Mike because, of course, you don't know his situation, his story, and everything, what he did and what he studies. So, you can't really say you got your studies or you studied in a medical school from the Rockefeller. That's a bit disingenuous as well, too, because I'm sure he does his own studies as well, too. After graduating medical school, I always does study. I'm pretty sure he does studies all the time as well to keep his knowledge up to date.
Have never been the answer. They were created to separate us from spirituality and consciousness. If you look at the ingredients, there's nothing healthy in vaccines. Formaldehyde, all types of stuff. So none of that.
But here she's saying, I see what she's saying, yeah, but she has to be careful. She said formaldehyde and all types of stuff. Name the stuff, man. Like, name the stuff that are unhealthy. You just gotta be careful, man.
That prevents. Everybody that vaccines still get illnesses. I've never seen any prevention of anything.
No, what is she saying there? She's never seen prevention? Like, come on. I think she's not living in Earth. Like, something is wrong with her there, man. I think she's getting too emotional here. I think she's getting too emotional. Maybe her life situation there has caused her to be like this, but I think she's getting a bit too emotional to be saying such broad statements like that.
The prevention from vaccines comes from prevention of death and serious illness. And we've seen that when you study that, not just in the US by the Rockefeller system that you describe, one of the largest studies.
The woman is down to the back. She's making a bunch of facial expressions and gestures and so for the entire video.
In the world surrounding vaccines and autism in children came from Denmark with over 500,000 children. That is not a US system, that is not a capitalist system. And they found that there is no pattern.
That's not
so
true.
I'm trying to branch out as much as possible.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority.
Okay.
But Dr. Mike answered, I would say, pretty well because like you can't really say too much there because she'd bring out a lot of things that are not based on facts. Anyway, guys, I think I'm going to have to end the video off here. It was pretty interesting. I do want to see if I can continue the video later on, depending on what you guys say, if I should continue watching the video or react to the other parts of the video. I don't know as yet, but I'll see how it goes. But yeah, guys, I do appreciate you guys stopping by. Like I said, I really have to commend Dr. Mike for what he was doing there because it's very, very commendable to be able to go into a room and then go against a discussion against 20 anti-vaxxers. And I also have to commend these people here as well too for coming in and giving their points as well because many of them have some really valid good points. Of course, some of them were a bit too drastic because they haven't done their research. Of course, you can understand where they're coming from because of their life experiences, so you can't really discredit everything they're saying. But of course, they didn't do all of their research to be able to come forward and say the statements that some of them made. By the way, if you do want to find out about a woman who has been cured from HIV and to see if it was actually just random or if it actually works, then check the video right here. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.